All right, let's talk about something that's really shaking up the AI world. It's called Kimi. And listen, this is not just another chatbot update from the company Moonshot AI. We might be looking at something, well, something totally different. And that really gets to the heart of what we're digging into today. Are we actually looking at the world's first true digital employee? I mean, forget just answering questions like a chatbot. We're talking about an AI you can literally hire to do complex, multi-step jobs. So to really grasp the scale of what's happening here, just look at this number, $18 billion. That's the valuation of Moonshot AI, the Beijing-based company behind Kimi, and they did it in less than 3 years. Now, that kind of money isn't just for another cool tech toy. It signals a massive belief that Kimi is a huge leap forward. It's a bet that AI is moving from being just a tool to being a genuine member of the workforce. So the big question is, how on earth did they do it? Well, it all starts with Kimi's core skill. You could almost call it a perfect digital memory. And this is the foundation, the bedrock that everything else is built on. Okay, so the fancy technical term is lossless long context. But what does that actually mean? You know how older AIs, if you give them a long document, they kind of forget what was at the beginning by the time they get to the end? Well, lossless means Kimi doesn't do that. It can read something as long as a novel and remember a tiny, specific detail from page 1 with perfect clarity. That is an absolute game changer. And get this, it pulls off this perfect memory trick with incredible efficiency. It uses something called a mixture of experts architecture. The best way to think about it is like this. Imagine a huge company with 384 different specialists. When a task comes in, you're not going to bother the entire company, right? No, you just call up the small handful of experts who are perfect for that specific job. That's what Kimi does. It delivers these state-of-the-art answers while using way, way less energy. Super smart. Okay, so it has this perfect memory, it's super efficient, but what can it actually do? Let's take a look at its resume, shall we? Let's check out some of the real-world gigs it's already landing. First gig on the resume, software developer. And this is wild. Developers have actually used Kimi to clone entire, complex websites in less than 30 minutes. How? They just show it a video of the site. Kimi doesn't just see pixels. It actually understands the layout, the functions, even the animations. And then it just writes the code to make it happen. Incredible. All right, let's move on to the next job title, legal analyst. Think about this. During a huge company merger, lawyers usually can only manually check a small sample of contracts, right? Maybe 5 or 10%. And they're just crossing their fingers they don't miss some smoking gun clause hidden in there. Kimi reads everything, all 10,000 contracts. It maps out 100% of the risk, all in a single pass. The difference is just staggering. And look, it's not just about reviewing documents. It's about actually driving business. Check this out. One law firm put a Kimi agent on the job to handle client inquiries after hours. Look at that jump on the chart. Their lead capture rate shot up from 11% all the way to 60%. I mean, that is a massive, tangible impact on the bottom line. And of course, you knew it was coming. It's also got a job in finance. Kimi can just tear through millions of rows of data. We're talking market reports, investor notes, you name it, and use it all to model these incredibly complex scenarios. For instance, people have used it to analyze everything from crypto network effects to building a pretty detailed case for Bitcoin hitting $170,000. This kind of deep dive analysis is just a total game changer for financial modeling. All right, so Kimi is clearly an incredible individual worker, a real star employee. But what happens when it gets a promotion? Well, this is where things get really interesting. This is where we go from a single digital employee to an entire digital team. Welcome to the agent swarm. Now, instead of having one AI chugging along, working through a problem step by step, you have a central Kimi acting as a manager. It can instantly hire and direct a whole team of specialized subagents to attack different parts of a complex problem all at the same time. You know, it's the difference between one person trying to build a house, brick by brick, and having a full construction crew working on the foundation, the framing, and the roof, all in parallel. And the scale here is just stunning. This manager AI can spin up and coordinate up to 100 of these subagents at the exact same time. Each one is laser focused on its own little piece of the puzzle, but they're all working together in perfect sync. So, what does this actually look like in the real world? Here's a great example. A Kimi swarm was asked to do some market research on niche YouTube creators. So it hired different subagents for each niche. They all did their research at the same time, and it delivered a complete structured spreadsheet on 300 creators in just 25 minutes. I mean, think about that. That's a task that would take a human researcher days, maybe even a week. Okay, so when you have performance like this, it's going to shake things up. It inevitably changes the entire workplace. So let's get into the office politics, shall we? Let's look at the competitive landscape that Kimi is just blowing up. And Kimi isn't just good at a few niche things. It is competing at the absolute frontier of AI. Just look at these benchmarks. It's going toe-to-toe with the biggest names out there. And in some really key areas, especially complex tasks, it's actually outperforming the top models from places like Google. This is a legitimate world-class performer. And then, here comes the economic knockout punch. It delivers all that world-class performance for about 60 cents per million tokens. 60 cents! That's roughly 10% of what its premium competitors are charging. So it's not just as good as them, in some cases better, it's also ridiculously more affordable. So, the impact of all this? It's global. People are calling this a DeepSeek moment, which is a nod to another Chinese AI company that really challenged the idea of US dominance in this space. And you can see the market is responding. A staggering 62% of Moonshot's revenue is already coming from outside China. Of course, this kind of explosive growth also brings new problems. You've got things like the licensing dispute with the coding tool Cursor, which really just highlights this growing need for something like an AI bill of materials, so we can actually track where these models come from. And that brings us right back to where we started. We've seen how Kimi's perfect memory, its swarm intelligence, and its absolutely disruptive price point are creating something entirely new. So the bottom line is this, and it's a question for all of us. When your new coworker is this good, this fast, and this affordable, what's your next move?